Hello, I'm Ree Contreras, and this is my first live stream. I wanted to go over a few things that I would do differently if I were a brand new eBay seller. A little bit of backstory. I have been selling on eBay now for 23 years. And I started in October of 2000, and all my animals are joining me. Um, but there are a lot of changes that I've seen over the years, and there are many things that I would do differently. Here's Butch. He wants to say hi. Um, okay. But a few of the things that I would let me just go over. I have a list. I've never done a live before, so this is new to me. Okay. What would I do differently if I were just starting an eBay store? The first thing that I would do is I would open a business bank account right from the beginning. The business bank account helps you separate your expenses and your purchases. Um, and so it helps your accounting become much more easy to track. The next thing that I would do that I didn't do when I started mine was make sure you have all the business licenses and all the other things that your city and state and county are going to require. A lot of people think they can just get on eBay and start selling. And as an example, I live in Los Angeles, California, and I have to have a business license and a reseller's permit to sell anything, even though I'm reselling in California. Those are my local requirements. So you want to double check and see if there are local requirements where you live that are similar. The next thing that I would do differently if I were just starting over is I would set a weekly budget. And whatever the weekly budget is that you think you can afford to spend on your reselling, I would stick to it. The shopping for reselling can be a lot of fun, and especially if you have too much fun shopping, you can do a lot of buying and not a lot of listing. So you want to, whether it's $25 a week or $50 a week or whatever it is that you think your reselling budget should be, stick to it. And the next thing that I would say is never buy more product until you've listed all of your old product. So for me, it's a lot of fun to do the garage sailing and to hunt for deals and to try and find new items. But it wasn't as much fun taking the pictures and listing the items and answering the questions. I enjoyed the shopping part of it a lot more. It was almost like reselling was an excuse for me to go buy things because I could justify it and say, well, look at all this cool stuff that I brought home. I'm going to make so much money. But if you don't list it and you don't get it out of the house and you don't ship it off, you're not going to make any money. So that is something that I know a lot of resellers struggle with is they have these big piles of stuff, clothes, shoes, whatever it is you're selling, and they've got this huge, they call it a backlog of inventory. But if you don't list it, it's never going to sell. And so even though the shopping part is a lot of fun, or can be the thrill of the hunt, looking for the next big deal. If you don't list it and you don't get it out of the house, all you're doing is storing it and being aggravated by looking at all this stuff collecting dust where your money should be. So get it listed before you buy more stuff. If you've got a big death pile, my advice to someone starting over again is don't even leave the house to go shopping until everything you've already purchased is listed and up for sale. Okay, the next thing that I would do if I were just starting over before I even got a lot, definitely before you get hundreds of items in the house or even thousands, is figure out where you're going to store everything. Have a dedicated spot and a storage system in place. You know, I waited and I just piled things up on a shelf to start. And then when I got too many things, then I started organizing. I would say get an organizing plan or an inventory management system in place before you start bringing things home. If you want to keep things clean and dust free, you're going to want to put them in bins. Label the bins. Even if it's something as simple as A, B, C, D, E, and then a number. So you bag everything and get it kind of like ready for shipping. Put it in a little clear plastic bag, and call it A1. The next thing in that bin is A2. Your system can be very simple, but once you get over 25 or 50 items, it can become really hard to find things. And so you want to have your system in place so that when somebody buys something, you can find it. And so that it doesn't get lost. And so you don't waste a lot of time looking for things. So I would say get a storage system in place right away. And if you can get it in a room or a closet or a cabinet where you have doors that close so you're not looking at all this stuff, that would be it's a lot more easy to live with. If you've got piles here and piles there and piles everywhere, you're going to get sick of eBay really fast. So if you can get your stuff kind of organized in a way that it's manageable from the start, then you can scale it and you can grow um, a lot more pleasantly. Along those same lines, I would also say organize your shipping materials. If you bring something home and it's big or bulky or oversized, how are you going to ship it? If you get it listed and somebody buys it right away, you need to have a way to ship it. You don't want to be having something for sale and then having someone say, I need you to overnight this to me, or I need you to send it right away. And now you've got to go find a box for it and you've got to go find the peanuts and the bubble wrap. You want to have all your shipping materials ready to go for every single item that's listed. So anything that you have listed, you need to have a plan and a way to ship it so that you can ship it seamlessly and without a lot of fuss. And keep your shipping materials all together. Keep your tape and your boxes and your poly mailers all in the same area. And again, if you can close a door on it, even better. Another thing that I would recommend that I've never done, but I've regretted not doing it, is doing a quarterly inventory. I have had a problem that's been going on quite a bit with eBay. And what eBay's done is after I have sold something, there's a handful of items over the years that once I sell it and ship it, instead of taking it out of my inventory, they relist it. And then the item's for sale again. And I don't catch it because the I've got things set to relist automatically if they don't sell. So when things do sell and they relist them, I don't catch it until it sells the second time. And I no longer have the item. And now I'm having to cancel an order. And I thought I had money made, but instead I'm canceling an order because the order was shipped 6 months ago and now I'm selling it again. If I had done a quarterly inventory of my items, just to put my hands on everything and make sure that it matches with what eBay says I have, I could have caught some of those problems. And I've noticed as I've been closing my store and I've been putting things on sale more, I've had a lot of those in the last few weeks where things sold and I remember shipping it already. And I do keep records of things that shipped. And when I looked in the history, sure enough, the item had shipped. And I don't manually really relist anything. I have eBay automatically relist things, and it doesn't happen a lot. I had about 1,500 items, and it's happened to maybe five. So that's a relatively small percentage, but it's still five customers that thought they bought something and I didn't have it to ship. So if I were doing quarterly inventory, I would have caught those problems. So I would recommend doing that. If you have the time and you don't have, if you have 10,000 items, I wouldn't want to do it. But if you have 100 items, definitely do it, or even 1,000. You could do a section a day and just do it once a quarter, and you'd catch a lot of problems like that. Along those same lines of just keeping track of what you have, I would also track my inventory more carefully. Not inventory, but purchases. For example, when I go and buy things, you can in the beginning, I had a ledger, and every time I'd go garage sailing or I'd go shopping, even if I was paying cash for the item, I would write down the date, the item. I haven't gone shopping for inventory in a long time, so I do still have these ledgers, but it'll show in one column it shows the date, and then the next column shows the description of the item, how much I paid for it, and when it sold, and when I shipped it. And having that manual tracker has helped me with my accounting because a lot of things that we purchase for reselling, we pay cash with. And if you, especially because the taxes are changing this year, and a lot of more of us are going to get the 1099s for our sales on eBay, you want to have good records of what you spent for these items so that you can take the expenses out of the income and just pay taxes on the difference. If you don't have those records, you could get stuck paying taxes on the full amount, and there was a cost to the item, but you've got to be able to prove it. So if you don't have good records of what you paid for things, you're going to have a tougher time at tax time, and you don't want to pay more taxes than necessary. This next item that I would definitely do sooner rather than later, and I waited too long on this, is buying a thermal printer. I used a jet printer for years, and I went through a lot of ink. And I bought a thermal printer probably 2 years ago, and never bought another, you know, packet of ink. And even the roll lasted a long time. And I spent, even though the thermal printer, it was $200 or $300, and the regular printers, you can get them for under 100. The amount of money that you're spending on ink, you recoup so quickly on a thermal printer, and it's easy. I would always run out of ink on a big expensive item. Like I'd be so happy that I sold all this stuff on a Sunday, and I'm ready to ship, and my printer runs out of ink. So, and the labels were more expensive too, not just the ink, but the labels for a jet printer were also more expensive. And I noticed on the thermal printer, the labels were really cheap and there was no ink. And I've never run out. I've never had to replace it. I'm just now finishing up my first giant roll on the thermal printer. Don't eat my glasses. For some reason, Butch loves to eat my glasses. And that's what I just took from him. But I would definitely spend the money. And if you're going to do reselling more than once every blue moon, I would definitely get a thermal printer because it is definitely worth the money. The next suggestion that I would tell myself if I were starting over again is I would not waste your time on the really cheap stuff. The stuff that you can pick up for $1 here and there. And I got a lot of stuff for $1. But if you can't sell it for at least 40 or $50, by the time you find it, you're traipsing all over town looking for this stuff. And so you're using up your car, you're using up your gas, you're using up your time, which you can't get back. You can't make any more of that. So you're using up time, gas, your car. It's taking you away from doing other things that you could make more money at. Then you've got to drag it home, and then you've got to take pictures of it, and you've got to take, at least 4, 5, 6 pictures of this item from every angle to make it look beautiful so you can sell it. And then you've got to take the time and figure out the best title for SEO, and you want to, have a riveting description. It's going to take you some time to enter all of that stuff. Even if you're bulk listing and you're doing sell similar and you're using templates, it still takes time. You still have to take the photographs. You still have to do the listings. You've got to put in all the eBay categories and item specifics. It's going to take you a little bit of time to source it, to drag it home, And then, people will ask questions about it. You've got to answer the emails. Then you've got to ship it. You've got to go to the post office. Don't waste your time on stuff that's under 25, 30, $40. You need to determine what your minimum price point is and stick to it. You will find thousands of things that are very inexpensive that you can sell for a 4 or 5 multiplier. But if that 4 or 5 multiplier is only getting you up to $5 or $10, you're wasting your time and you're wasting your money. And so I would really say set your minimum. And for most of us, when you factor all of those tasks in, you need to be buying things that you can sell for at least $40 or $50 or more. And so you really want to stick to being more of a connoisseur and less of a hoarder. You can get a lot of fun junk jewelry, but if it doesn't sell and it sits in the closet for a year, and then you finally put it on sale and you sell it for $5.99, or people will send you offers for things for almost nothing. So you don't want to waste your time on the low value items. You definitely want to have fewer items that are worth more money. And then in the long run, your average sale is going to be more worth it. When you have a lot of low value items, when you sell it, it's not that thrilling. You want to have fun with this. And if you're in it to make money, the more money you make, the more fun it's going to be. So, holding on to your cash and using it on inventory that is more valuable is more rewarding in the long run. Along those same lines, you want to think about shipping. When you're looking at something and you're thinking, should I buy this or not? You want to say, is it worth it? Am I going to make enough of a profit to make it worth my time and the effort and having it sit on the shelf for possibly months waiting for it to sell? The other thing you're going to think about is, how much space is it going to take up in my house? And how difficult will it be to ship? How expensive will it be to ship? If you're selling something that is worth $40 or $50, but it costs $60 to ship it, you're not going to have a lot of people interested in buying it. So you want to keep that in mind. The lighter it is, the easier it is to ship, the easier it is to store, the more enjoyable the whole process is. Because these giant, big, bulky items that may be worth a lot of money, if you have to store them for 6 months or a year, waiting for the perfect buyer, which is often the case, can you store it without getting damaged? Are you going to get sick of looking at it? And then once you have to ship it, do you have the boxes? How much is it going to cost? These are all things that you want to think about when you're looking to purchase something. Before you ever bring it home, you want to think about, how am I going to store it? How much am I going to get for it? And how hard is it going to be to ship? The next thing that I would tell myself is to list consistently. If you're buying stuff during the summer sales and then you don't list anything else for months and months and months, your inventory becomes stale. And so I get a lot of repeat buyers, and I've had a lot of people come back to my store, and I always sell things the day that I list. So you want to be listing on a regular basis to keep your store fresh. That keeps your store from getting stale. If you do have things that have been sitting in your store for over a year, you want to look at your pricing. You want to look at your descriptions. Maybe you can take better photos. Maybe eBay has deleted some of your photos. That's something that you want to look at on a regular basis, because they make updates all the time. And a lot of times when they do these updates, it can wipe out all of your photos. It can wipe out your descriptions. It can wipe out the details on your products. So you want to watch that kind of stuff and make sure that it's all up to date, because eBay, when they do updates, will often wipe stuff out. And so you want to check that regularly, and you want to list consistently to keep your store fresh. Sorry about the noise. There's about 6 workers right outside my bedroom window here. The next thing is, you want to answer customers' questions as quickly as possible. This is sales 101. When customers are messaging you, they expect a rapid response. So when you get the notifications that customers have sent you a message, answer it as soon as you can. The sooner you answer back, the happier they'll be. Now, the next tip that I would give myself is to take all reasonable offers. The reason for that is sometimes when we shop for things, we fall in love with them and we get an affinity for these items that we collect. And we see more value than the market proves. And if you think something is worth quite a bit more than what somebody is offering you, sit with it for a minute. Don't just automatically turn them down, but think about it. Think, how much longer do I want to hold on to this item? If it's the first offer on the first day and you know for a fact that it's worth triple what they're offering, yes, wait. That's not a reasonable offer. But if they're close to what the market value is on an item, and the market value isn't what you feel something should be worth, it's what that exact item is selling for currently. Not what it sold for 10 years ago, not what it sold for one time 5 years ago, but what did it sell for last week? That's the current market. And trends come and trends go. And there are a lot of things that can go really high and they have their day and then they fall out of favor and then they're not worth as much. And sometimes if you're riding that wave and something could be really hot and you get your hands on it and then you buy it and you let it sit for a little bit and you list it a few months later and the trend has gone. And that can happen. Or sometimes you think, oh, I had this a year ago and I sold it for super high amount. I need another one of those. And then you list it again and nobody wants it. That can happen with the trendy items. So if somebody is offering you something that's reasonable and it's within the market value of the item, don't play favorites with these items. If someone's offering you a fair price, take it. Don't hold out for a better offer because a lot of times in the collectible world, you may not get one. Have fun. Try to make the process as enjoyable as possible. If you don't get too many items listed and you don't get too precious about them and you're willing to sell them and not hold on to them, I think you'll have a lot more fun. If you stick with a budget and you keep track of everything and you don't let the piles pile up, then the whole thing is it's a lot more fun that way. The next thing that I would tell myself is to plan ahead for the sales cycles. For example, the best time of year to go garage sailing is in the summertime. That people have their children are out of school, the weather is nice, and people do garage sales in the summertime. So estate sales can be year round, but even those, there's more of them in the summertime. So you can plan the majority of your purchasing in the summer and the fall and the spring when these sales are on. And then you can list that stuff year round as long as you keep up on it and it doesn't start to pile up on you. If you have a pretty good pile at the end of summer because you've done all the shopping and then you're not going to shop again until the weather warms up again, that's different. When I talk about having death piles, that's for people who shop and shop and shop and never list. You don't want to do that. But there will be sales cycles. So the slowest time of the year to sell is also the best time of the year to buy. So in the summertime, when they have all the garage sales, that's when you'll sell the least amount of items on eBay. But the holiday season comes up very quickly. Betty and Butch are playing. Those are the barkers right there. So what you want to make sure that you do is you have enough inventory to get you through the holidays. So you can load up a little bit in the summertime when the sales are on. And then know that you'll sell hopefully most of it off during the holiday season. You probably won't sell it in the summer when you're buying it because people are selling in the summer, they're not buying. But come fall, Okay, you guys. But come fall, the buying season starts up. So if you want to have a good holiday season, you need to have all those listings up and running and listed. Probably by September, October, that's when people start looking at Christmas purchases. This is what's going on over here. They play. They play all the time. So that's what I mean by the cycles. And then the holiday season will start usually around October or November, and it will get really strong in November, and it'll be done um, by the third week in December. Before Christmas, it's over, and then you'll get another little peak, usually right the week after Christmas. For well, I always call it the people that are buying for themselves because they didn't get what they wanted for Christmas. And then January, by the time people get their credit card bills, it's over. It's over for the spring. Now, depending on your item, you can still sell, and I have had good Januaries and Februarys. My March, April, and Mays are are always kind of quiet, but you can still get a little bit of residual in January and February that carries over from the holidays. But then the springtime is usually pretty slow. Well, that is all I have for today. I hope this helps someone, and I hope you enjoy it. And that's the end of my first chat, not chat, but first live stream. So I hope you have a great day.